Ray, what's the theme of the week? You said you're frustrated and disappointed after the loss last week. So what have you been sort of focusing on this week?
I think it's changed too much in terms of our approach. The Bulldogs have been an interesting team this year. They've had some really good win against Richmond and then a couple of losses at Marvel against the Gold Coast and Carlton. So we know their best is very, very good, and they've got a lot of capable players, and they've swung some changes this week as well. So there's an element of unpredictability about the Bulldogs. So that probably strengthens our result to focus on our game and the area of our game that we want to work on, and that's it's pretty simple. We think that if we get enough supply, we can be pretty potent going inside forward 50, but that's been a constant work in progress for us this year. But we've seen some real improvement in that over the last month.
They don't have an overly tall back line. Is that part of the thinking, keeping Mason Wood inside as well and trying to stretch him a bit? Yeah,
no doubt. I mean, Mason has showed some glimpses of his best form this year, but consistency is something that he's searching for. And look, there's no doubt that we looked at the forward structure this week and considered changing it. But I'd really like to back Mason in. I think he's a high quality player. We've just got to get him back to his best, because we're definitely a better side when he's playing his best footy.
Do you feel like your best footy's not far away? Is that the consensus?
Well, I think that we've shown glimpses of it. It's just a matter of doing it more consistently for longer. I mean, we've had two really bad games this year, round one and Good Friday. They were really poor performances. But the other games we felt we've given ourselves chances to win. But the reality is we're 2-7. So you don't look back and think that gee, we were in those games. We weren't good enough to close those games out. So we're just going to have to put a really good four-quarter performance together to get over the Dogs.
The players look devastated after, and understandably so. Have you seen like elements of that sort of manifest into something this week?
I think it's something that's really important that you keep fighting no matter what the circumstances. And I think when things are going well, anyone can lead the team, anyone can coach the team. The challenge is when things aren't going so well, both week to week, but also in game. I think that while we're disappointed with the game in the weekend, the fight was clearly there right to the end, and we certainly felt like we ran out of time. We were pushing right to the last second, and it was a bit the same in the Port Adelaide game a few weeks ago as well. So those elements of fight and never beaten something we pride ourselves on, and we might lose some battles, but we'll just keep fighting, and that's something that we try to instill into all our young players.
How do you look at that match? We're obviously looking forward, you're not looking back, but you steam home, you run out of time, but you left yourself so much work to do. So how do you review a match like that?
Yeah, we break it down into all the key elements. We just had a really bad 15 or 20 minute patch in the second quarter. Unfortunately, there was no clear trend to it. There were just some pretty good goals by the Swans to give them credit where it's due, but just some really poor lapses, and we coughed up goals through our errors as much as their good play. So unfortunately, the way the game is at the moment, you can't take out 15 or 20 minutes in a game, and that was the critical stage for us, and we left ourselves too much to do at the end. But we're certainly not sitting here saying that we're going okay except for small moments. We need to be better right across the four quarters.
Luke Davies Jr. back in. Have you got what you wanted out of him by going back?
Yeah, we're really pleased. Really pleased. It was look, we're really looking to develop our young talent and give them opportunity. But I think it's really important to stress that we're certainly not going to throw all our young players in at the same time, or that would be unlikely. It would only be circumstantial if we had to do that. But over a long period of time, I've seen young players develop, and I think I've got a pretty good feel for what works best. And Jai Simpkin's a good example of someone going out of the side and is now playing career best footy. Go right back 10 years ago to when Ben Cunnington and Jack Siebel were the mainstays of our midfield, and they played every week because we really didn't have anyone else to play through there. So that was detrimental to their development. Now they're great characters, they've come through and become really good players, but we're now in the position where we will expose our young players when we feel they're ready, and based on the mix of the team.
So it's not a numbers thing then. It's more when the individual
no.
player, you don't have a number like you play 7 under 21 or.
Yeah, no, and I think there's a real risk to thinking that we'll just expose youth at the same time, or we'll get games into young players. You've got to get quality games into young players, and when you expose young players before they're ready, it can be really detrimental, and you can go back over any number of examples where that's happened, both at our club and at others. So we will cycle our young players through based on when we think they're ready, the role they can play for the team. And Bailey Scott's someone we'd like to bring in, but he had that pretty significant concussion and hasn't played since with a VFL bye. So we thought long and hard about playing him this week, but we feel just getting some footy at VFL level is really important before he comes back into the AFL side.
At what point does your position on the ladder start to dictate those line ball calls between, say, a veteran and a younger player?
Yeah, well, I think if you look at our average age, it's probably it's up there. But we probably, the reason it's high is because we have a bit of a gap in our list in the mid-20s. We've actually got a lot of broad base of youth now that we want to bring through, and I think it'd be very difficult to make the case that we're playing an older player at the expense of a younger player. And as I said, the mix is really important. We don't want to expose all our young players all at once. The senior players have got a really key role to play in that. So I think the best way I can describe it is that we will cycle young players through based on their form and also the mix of the team.
Mid-season draft next week, 1 spot, 2 spot, where are you thinking?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it's a bit like the national draft. I mean, 2 years ago we were playing a game against Brisbane where the winner received pick 4 and the loser received pick 1, and we were determined to win that game. Because a winning culture is really important, but also because you look at the draft, and if you start trying to position yourself in the draft, it can backfire. And we think there are a few quality players there in the first 4 picks, and I think our recruiters have got a tough decision separating them anyway. So they'll just let the cards fall where they fall.
Brad, there was a report that you might not see out your contract next year by mutual decision. I mean, can you sort of give us your position on your future?
Yeah, I can't shed any light on that. I mean, I think that speculation is fair, and media have got a job to do. But the only thing I'll say about that is that I've said for my entire tenure here at North Melbourne that my focus is on what's best for our club, and that hasn't changed. And it's certainly at the forefront of my mind right at the moment that we need to do what's best for North Melbourne, and what's best for North right at the moment is the next 24 hours in the Bulldogs. The bigger picture is probably for another stage rather than the day before a game.